I don't want to lose my authenticity, and I don't want to look shit. Those things are very important to me, and something that I think as a brand builder, you need to be thinking about very consciously. The really heavy moving shakers are changing in and out platforms and using them to suit their purpose, not what a enterprise SaaS is telling you to do. It requires probably a different, more hybridized skill set, something that's a lot more technical, a lot more data led, and very much a systems or input output sort of style focus.
Hey, this is Marshy. It's the following day after the webinar. I did a back-to-back conference in B2B marketing straight after the webinar the following day. It's now the end of the day and just reflecting back on the recording and what was said. Really pumped to share this with you. It's the first of my Marshy's Webinar Wednesday series. It's created a lot of good energy and excited to share, 3 live demos of what it's like to do content repurposing, think about prospecting, and yes, paid competitive ad analysis. That's hilarious. You can tell it's been a big day. Anyway, going to be doing more of these. Subscribe to my newsletter, lukemarshall.net/newsletter, and lukemarshall.net/webinar Wednesday if you want this version. Looking forward to sharing with you and would love the feedback. Cheers.
The 3 marketing things you didn't know you could do with AI. This series of webinars that we run every Wednesday. To join, you go lukemarshall.net/webinar Wednesday. And basically the goal is to share as much knowledge I've learned and sort of going deep on these topics to basically help everyone in my audience and ultimately convert more content. I think historically it's been really hard to create webinars in my own platform because it is sort of high effort, time consuming and low reach. But with the AI tools and some of the things I'll show you today, it actually makes creating more with less a lot more possible. So I'd like to open with a quote. Kieran Flanagan, a go-to-market consultant, recent post on LinkedIn: with AI, how the fuck do you even do marketing anymore? And yeah, it's changed and it's changing forever. And I think what I'm seeing is companies that are sort of leaning into the capabilities can get those outside returns that we're talking about. And it requires probably a different, more hybridized skill set, something that's a lot more technical, a lot more data led, and very much a systems or input output sort of style focus, which is very different to traditional marketing, even very different to traditional digital marketing. So what we're covering today, I'll give you a quick background about what I'm up to, where this sits on the expertise horizon, and then I'll go through my 3 main topics, and these will be live demos. I expect things to break: content repurposing in your own voice, how to run a competitor paid ads analysis, and LinkedIn outreach. Happy to sort of take questions at the end. I won't record or upload that section, just as a thank you for participating, but the rest will be available online with the slides, and I'll talk to how they'll work at the end. Cool. So my name is Luke Marshall. Been doing digital marketing and sort of tech for the last 20 years. Love presenting, but I've done it many times in other channels. And so this doesn't scale for reasons I've already mentioned, but it's actually kind of changing right now with current AI capabilities. I can sort of generate, say, 3, 5, 10 times the amount of content. And what's really important to me, and sort of anyone who's creating marketing content, I don't want to lose my authenticity and I don't want to look shit. Those things are very important to me, and something that I think as a brand builder, you need to be thinking about very consciously. I'll ship a lot of these webinars over the next 4 to 6 weeks with the goal of generating a lot of content, building an audience fast, and then reevaluate what's working and what isn't. So thought I'd start with a bit of humor. I don't know if you've seen a tier list before. Essentially, it's sort of like S+ tier, A, B, C. And I just did a tier list for the state of sort of AI and marketing right now. And I think the 2 sort of pockets that I'm seeing are really hot right now: go-to-market engineers. There's a recent article just released in the New York Times about Clay and its explosive growth. They've leaned into this and have become a really comprehensive SaaS solution for building and doing some of the things that I'll show you today. And the other sort of one that's really leaning into this is CTOs, that fractional CTOs that work at startups. In my conversations with these people, they're like, okay, I can 10x or 20x my output in a way that I could never have dreamed of 2-3 years ago. They're really leaning into the capabilities and staying at the cutting edge and sort of briefing those rewards as they increase the outsized output. Movers and shakers in this space, definitely growth bros. You have seen them. There's a LinkedIn post I shared earlier in this presentation. I think the execs I'm talking to that are tech savvy are leaning in and trying to get the most out of it. And a pocket, compared to say enterprises that I'm seeing really start to reap rewards, is larger SMBs that have a lot of heavy operational requirements and manual processes, law firms, anything with safety and compliance, construction industries, anything heavy and operational. They're running things in a private sort of RAG and knowledge base, and then getting rid of some of those manual tasks already, which is awesome. I think it's sort of mid-tier for this stuff. I see heads of department at enterprises and sort of gatekeepers and traditional execs saying, oh, I'm too worried about what's happening with AI. And some of these are really good reasons for enterprises in particular, but I think they're going to be left behind. I think it's going very fast. And I think the upper tiers are starting to lean into this and sort of gain ground, whereas organizations that are talking about this from okay, must be controlled by IT or must be controlled by this, aren't looking at it holistically and starting to lag behind. And yeah, near the end of this tier list, boomers and normies, they're like, oh, it's just ChatGPT, right? Or even worse, if you're selling Copilot to orgs or Salesforce, I just think it's completely overpriced and a sandbox, into an ecosystem rubbish. And the really heavy moving shakers are changing in and out platforms and using them to suit their purpose, not what a enterprise SaaS is telling you to do, and people using Meta AI. So yeah, like I promised, I'm going to be very hands-on and demo-centric and want to walk you through content repurposing in your voice. So I'm just going to break things and go into live demo mode, and we'll go to my Airtable. For those of you who don't know, Airtable is essentially a database tool. It works a bit like a Google Sheet, but what I really like about it is I can run automations and workflows that trigger based off things I do with the data. And so this is a sheet that I've literally whipped together this morning. And this is a tool called N8N or N8N. N8N lets you build workflows and make API calls based off triggers that you put into this sheet. And then what you can actually impact and do is a daisy chain effect. So in this example, I've got content that's originally from my newsletter, just without the images. I can make a change here to make a revision or just set off the trigger. And then this actually makes a call to Perplexity. And so Perplexity will go off, and Perplexity is one of the LLMs that it does web research. You can run it via an API call through N8N, and that's what we're doing here. So when I set off certain criteria in Airtable, there's my credentials for Perplexity. It triggers a search in Perplexity to enrich and make suggestions from researching the web on how to improve my content, and then updates those learnings into a record in Airtable. So we'll look at it here, and have I saved it? And, yep, okay. So this should theoretically, if I just update my table here, I think I need to add a last modified by time. Cool. And if I just go back into N8N and hide and test workflow, it should theoretically, yep, it's picked up a new one. So there's the magic happening. Yep, and now it's updated the record in Airtable. So there we go there. And in this one, my prompt could have been better, but it's given me the citations, what it can do in quite sort of robust and heavy language. That's fine, because what we're going to do now is create another option here, and we'll write a live prompt edit field. The reason why I like Airtable is because with the paid version, you get AI credits that you can use outside of relying on workflows. And so in this example, if I just go long text and automate this with a prompt, so GPT is fine here, take the original content from this one and review the suggestions for improving it from our research results, research output, and then turn this into a LinkedIn post. And we'll see, I can just run this agent, right? That'll give us quite a generic sounding LinkedIn post. It may give me some of the voice, but so if we look at this, if I'm looking at this, yeah, it's borrowing a lot of my language, but it's quite, I would say, generated. Like the use of hashtags, it doesn't have a lot of context. It's kind of crap, if I'm honest. And so one thing I did that's separate to this is in my Claude projects, I've got a project set up with Luke's voice. And so in here, I've got all my LinkedIn posts from the last, I don't know, well, ever since I've used the platform. And then I've asked Opus, which is the strongest and most powerful version of Claude, to basically use the project knowledge you have to write online content in Luke's voice. And so it should be preserving my style, site relevant examples, and da 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 da. And so if I just ask this, if I link to another record and the project instructions, let's move this, create field, let's call it voice, Luke's voice. And we want the system instructions here. Cool. And we'll just add them. There we go. And because we can add it to any future posts as well. There you go. Great. So now we can just copy this prompt, edit field. Just going to grab it again, and let's go again and see if it can do a better job in my voice. And so we'll go edit field. Call this enhanced. So in this one, I'm going to use Claude, which I find is much better for copywriting. And we're going to add the fact that we can use Luke's voice and adhere to Luke's voice instructions. Yeah. I'll insert the fields project instructions for to make sure I'm going to pick the right one. Pretty sure we can grab this one. Let's see. I did promise that it's going to be now that's updated and we can generate again. So let's have a look. Run automatically. Cool. The beauty of a live demo. I think what's happening because I might have run credits at the wrong time, but that should theoretically work and something you can look at. But just to keep it moving, I can then daisy chain this and go LinkedIn post output again. I can turn this into a YouTube short. I can run this against project instructions and just give it one more go. Otherwise, I'll move on to the next demo. Override existing, continue. Yeah, hey, we might circle back to that. Cool. But yeah, I think you get the picture. Next thing I want to show you is
so you did all of that in Airtable. Sorry to interrupt, Luke.
Yeah, go to. Yeah, I did that in Airtable, a link between Airtable and N8N. And N8N is it enables you to access Perplexity and embrace other triggers. But what I can do with follow-up sequences in the chain is run AI fields in particular within Airtable, or even better, set up automations that generate text with AI, update records, and set a more daisy chain. So it's very powerful very quickly. The next thing you can do with just competitor paid ads analysis, which is super, super useful, is one of the things you can do with Claude is create projects that connect to MCPs. This is Model Context Protocol. There's many ways to do it. I think Claude Desktop is the fastest way to connect to MCPs. And the way we think about MCPs is almost like an interface for interacting with other bits of software, just using chat. And so what I've done here is created an MCP orchestrator and added some project instructions about how to use the MCPs I have access to. And I've just created a request to run some research on an Apify MCP. And so Apify is a MCP that I'll tell it to go now. Yeah. Apify, for those who don't know, is almost like a grey market scraping tool that lets you run scraping against all sorts of different areas of business. And so, oops, there we are. Go back to presenting mode. Where are we? I think I need to minimize this. There we go. And so if I go add library, there's the Facebook ads library scraper. And what I can do is ask it to pull all the information from Meta Ad Library, which is, for example, here, this is an example with Employment Hero. And if I just go here and go, this is how it would work if I was activating it within the tool. But with Claude, I can actually ask it to do it within the chat interface. And so what you're seeing here is, and because it hasn't done it before, it's working it out. But what I'm getting it to do is actually go into Apify, find the appropriate agent that can get the information I want, and then return the results, or I can access the run in Apify. The beauty of this is that I can run a request for, okay, find me the contact details for person X, find me ads for these particular brands, and have the data run itself. I've also connected this to an Airtable MCP. So what I could do then is pass and punt the data into my Airtable database and create a pretty rich library for the competitor ad analysis. The data you get in terms of what you see in terms of output is actually very, very comprehensive. And so, the ad library URL, the person profile, the links. And so if I just click on one of these, for example, it's grabbing all this information as well. I also get things like the video URL. So if I see, there's a lot of data that comes from this. So yeah, so original image URL. It doesn't look like Employee Hero is running any video, but for advertisers that are, we do get the video URL. Here we go. Yeah, video URL. Which then can be popped into a database. The beauty of this using, say, this Airtable example again, is we can set up an N8N workflow that grabs the video URL. We can watch it with Gemini and trigger the download and transcription from it, and then use that information to either improve the ad copy in our brand voice or sequence it in a way that becomes competitive intel by regularly scraping ads over time. So, yeah, pretty cutting edge stuff, and something that can be pieced together with the tools I'm showing you today. And pretty cool. I'll just check how it went with the Claude workflow. Cool. Yeah, I'm still coaching it on how to use that MCP, but let's go to the next example, the LinkedIn outreach. And so again, this is live and quite messy, but this is the way I want to roll with these things. And so we go back to my Airtable and we go to just some outbound experimenting that I did ahead of yesterday. These are contacts that I've gone and sort of found, basically pulling data from LinkedIn Sales Navigator, running it through Apify, emailing them via Smart Lead with a recorded video, and then writing the copy, at least the draft copy, with a script in Airtable. So if we just look at the field here, so here's the details for Michael. There's a transcript of my video that I recorded for Michael with an animated GIF, subject, greeting, CTA, how you can work with me and book a call. In Smart Lead, I can then go in here and I go to my email campaign. I can see from the lead list that actually 3 people have opened it. What I want to do then is trigger a manual action, just connect with them on LinkedIn. This can also be automated in an N8N workflow by connecting to Fandom Buster. And so this is another way to, I guess, get 3 touches of outreach with less the effort. And I think what makes this more exciting for someone who's tech leaning and willing to sort of piece together these tools and workflows is that this used to require developers. Now this can be pieced together in Claude. I think I actually got help from this. Let's go to my chat history and No, that's not that one. But yeah, you get the picture. And so what I'm trying to showcase and sort of highlight, and I want to go into more detail for webinars in the future, is that all these things are like building blocks or Lego that can be pieced together and turned into an outcome, which is really, really cool. And so I'm excited by this. And as I guess a freelance consultant who's always relied on outside resources for dev, this is an extremely powerful time. And so, that's essentially the crash course on the debut webinar. And so I talked about a bit of an offer at the end. Look, I'm already working with scaling B2B SaaS and know they're not doing enough with AI. So any referrals are welcome. I'm really after feedback. So if you see the recording of this presentation, any feedback in LinkedIn DMs is super welcome. Then let me know if I can use it for marketing purposes. And I'm actually going to open up a school for dropping this content in more detail. So slides, capturing commentary, etc. And I'll include the link to this in the follow-up notes. And thanks for watching my debut webinar. It's really fun. Things go wrong with live demos, but that's part of the fun as well. And I'll stop recording now and happy to throw it to live Q&A.